Welcome to the Market Mindset. We are the hub for news, results, and CEO interviews focusing the junior commodities sector. We provide market analysis and perspective that will help position you for solid returns. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can help support us by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the notification bell. For more info, you can visit our website. All links are in the description below. Now let's get into today's video.
It's April 1st. I just realized that right now it's April Fool's Day. But how are you doing, Austin? We're going to talk all thing lithium today. Happy April Fools. Oh, God, we lost Austin. All right. Unfortunately, Austin's connection is broken. Today, we are going to be talking about lithium. And, lots has happened in the space. What a year it's had. It's funny, whenever I was growing up, you'd think of lithium being more of associated with like a sedative or a psychiatric medication. Hold on. I think we've got Austin back on. Hello there. There we go, Austin.
I'm back. I made it.
Back.
Sorry. My audio went completely nuts as soon as we went live and I panicked. So
No problem. So yes, I was just saying it's April 1st. It's actually April Fool's Day, which is funny. I didn't realize that. But we're going to be talking about lithium and what a year it's had. Prices have soared, I think 280% or slightly more than that. I'll have to check the exact up to date. But as a part of writing an article, we had it about 280%. I love the way that one of the analysts over at Canaccord had said, what a year 2021 has been to kind of accentuate the decade of lithium. So this is great to hear other analysts and people in the space commenting on this this push forward in the electric market in this new shift in energy, which requires mining.
it's that demand's not going anywhere, which is a key part of this. It's going to remain extremely important. It's we're going to talk about a few different things today about how lithium production is expanding in North America. But regardless of that, there's no quick fix solution. That demand is going to keep lithium prices very high for the foreseeable future.
Yes, and I mean they certainly in their report they have a strong belief that equities can keep going further. And they certainly can. I mean, I think it's for every 1% of EV or electric vehicle penetration, it's like 70,000 tons of lithium that's required. So there's a big supply demand issue that is building and growing. And I believe it's around 2025, not like the copper situation, in which if there's not a lot more brought on to market, there's going to be some issues. And, kind of one of the themes that we've been talking about here, and we've hearing from a lot of CEOs, is that supply chain, or where is it coming from, is also a key driver. The importance of where is it? Do we have access to it? How much is the shipping cost going to be on these things? This all makes a difference nowadays. And that kind of brings us into a big, huge news release basically 20 hours ago. But Austin, there is big news. Maybe you can kind of let us know about.
Yeah, so the Biden administration is obviously, they've come out and said that they're going to use the Defense Production Act to try and boost lithium production in the United States. Now, the Defense Production Act, for anyone who doesn't know, I believe it was introduced in 1950, was when it was first introduced. It was an expansion on a previous act that the United States had used during World War II to kind of ramp up industry and be able to produce the necessary equipment to fight World War II. So they kind of retooled it and created it into the Defense Production Act, which essentially gives the federal government full power to be able to really push industry in a way that they can't really with their normal set of powers that they have. Trump even used it actually in 2020 in partnership with Operation Warp Speed, which was their kind of COVID defense plan, which included the vaccine development and stuff like that. So not uncommon for this to be used in this kind of way, but it's a good step to be seeing that this administration take, and it's one that it's a tricky political situation for the Biden administration to navigate through as well, in how they're going to approach and tool their kind of response to this.
Yes. See, here's the problem with reality mixed with political messaging. And the article itself is a little bit, I'll say, interesting to say the least, because, and I'm not picking on the writer. The writer, I guess, has a tech background and a English degree. Clearly doesn't know energy and doesn't know politics, because he was confused as to why there'd be any nationalistic competition for resources. To me, when has there never been? The entire history of the planet has been whoever has control of energy, and then money controls the world. It's always been that way. But I also remind myself that a lot of the younger generation is this one that's been kind of being forced propaganda of, why can't we all just get along? We're all just the same. It's the whole global planet, blah, blah, blah. Total devoid of any history of the world, totally devoid of other countries' beliefs and what's going on. And that's kind of gotten the West, or let's just say North America, into the predicament it's in on the world stage, where there's a total disconnect between reality and what's required. For example, they talk about all the rights and the environment and then this and that, which of course are important. But if you want to have any of those things solved, you need to have energy, and that comes from the ground, from mining. And they have a hard time getting their head wrapped around that. And then also, if it was, it's the left, right? So they've kind of championed that's the end of the world. It's climate change is killing us. But they've done it to such an extent that they've left themselves in a corner where they have to somehow now make themselves look good, but really, really promote mining. And you have to. There isn't any way around it. It's either oil and gas or it's going to be mining. And they don't want to have to admit that. And we're going to do a show on Trudeau's release that he had out a couple days ago, talking about his strategy, which I'll just say there's no plan, really.
If you can call it a strategy, yeah.
It's like a real fluff piece with all the like vague generalities and no regard to any natural resources or how we're going to do any of this. It's just that we're going to go from being messy to then just magically clean. We're like, well, okay, how are you going to do that? So we'll get into that. But at least here, there's a recognition from the Biden administration that we're going to have to start looking at how are we getting these resources out of the ground. And that's the huge step. That's the really exciting part, is the acknowledgement. And when they say get production up, there's only one producing lithium mine in the U.S. That's Albemarle's one. Now there's Lithium Americas has a great Thacker Pass, and then there's a list of companies right now that are looking excellent. And so just kind of maybe wrap up that kind of Biden situation. I'll just jump into some just kind of ideas about lithium as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's an interesting corner that they've backed themselves into, because obviously he kind of opened his presidency by canceling the Keystone pipeline, which was really seen as a big signal to the environmental wing of the Democratic Party, like, hey, we're playing ball with you guys. We're not going to be dependent on this energy. I mean, I've made the argument enough times for Alberta oil and natural gas being the cleanest and safest on earth, but whatever. They wanted to political grandstand on that. So now you're going to go and kind of flip things around and say, hey, we're going to activate, I think it's $750 million to expand mine operations and incentives that their first wave under the Defense Production Act is going to be. But, it's an interesting, like the way they're going to navigate this is going to be interesting. 750 million, it sounds like a lot of money, but when we're talking about expanding mine production, it's really not that much. But it's important to just very much. No, it's really not going to get you too far with those incentives and stuff like that. But it's a good start, at least, to start having those conversations, and maybe that'll help the general population kind of tune in a little bit more to see, okay, hey, we actually really need to get this going, or we're already behind the eight ball. We can't fall further behind.
No, and I mean, if you don't have a solution, which they don't, and this is the disturbing part, is that this idea that, all right, let's initiate this defense bill, and then we'll solve the problem. Wait, like you said, $750 million is nothing. That could go to open one mine. That's not a lot of money. which sounds ridiculous, but that, like, literally you could spend $750 million for the infrastructure for the mine to build it. Then you have to build it. We're talking years to build it and to build the roads and this and that. So this is something they should have done years ago, instead of getting them in a situation where they're saying, we're not going to build out nuclear. We're not going to build out this. We're not going to have a switch off, but we're going to switch off oil and gas. Well, where's your energy coming from? And it's just like, well, I'll leave it to the next administration. I'll leave it to the next administration. I don't want to deal with it because it's an environment thing. And we're telling everyone that, meanwhile, we're buying houses right on the waterfront. We're telling everyone the ocean's rising and it's going to flood in 10 years. And all these people live on the ocean. And so, I mean, it's trying to figure out how much of it is silly nonsense and BS, how much is political grandstanding, and also the fact that most of these people have no idea. And they're not listening to any kind of expert because they don't want to hear it. And we kind of liken it to with the food shortage issue where, Brian Ostroff was saying they've been talking about it for a long time. So you think, and I don't know if you've ever tried to talk to anyone in a bureaucracy. If they don't like the way it sounds, they're just not going to pay attention. And if it doesn't serve them well, they don't pay attention. And that's just and I'm not picking on either side. That's just government. I mean, and that's not just government. Like, imagine go to Google, like a massive, and saying, hey, listen, guys, this, and this. They pretty much just fire you, just like they censor people. If they don't like what you're saying, they just bye, you're gone.
Yeah.
So
thanks for coming out.
So what I'm hoping is that this, there's been over the years a push towards this acknowledgement of these critical metals, and this war with Ukraine, that's ramped it up. And now most people don't pay attention to the global political scene and what starts wars and all this. This is something I find fascinating, but this stockpiling of resources is a huge indicator of unrest. Food shortage is the number one for literal unrest about to happen. These things have been happening and starting to come to fruition. And it's a critical time that unless there's a full mobilization towards getting these materials, you're going to be back to using coal. You're going to be back to using oil and gas. And I have no problem with using clean gas. And we're always going to use oil. So the thought that we're never going to use this again is silly. You need it for plastics. There's a long list of things that you're going to need to use it on. And, we have to sooner or later have both sides of political parties come out and have a real conversation to say, what's the real plan here and how much of this is silly and nonsense and just politics and sheer distraction. But I'm really hoping that this Biden administration really starts ringing the bell and saying, we need to have this much supply of these critical metals. And we can do it. You can do it. And you can do it safely and you can do it clean. You just need to fund it properly. That's it. And it's not like we don't have, there's money. They just printed trillions. So, you could easily do it. It's not a matter of can you, 100% you can. But the problem with that too becomes anyone who's left would go, oh, this national push for the U.S. to try to garner, its resources. That's what any person in the right mind would do that's running a country. You want to make sure you have the resources. Why would you give them away? But they've also painted themselves in a corner to take heat for that, which is absolutely absurd, but they did it to themselves. So anyways, back to lithium.
Yeah. Well, and I'll wrap that up with one kind of final point and just say, if this had been done sooner, and you hear people on certain sides of the political aisle like to complain a lot about, well, hey, Elon Musk, he's supposed to be this kind of pro-America guy. What the hell is he doing cozying up next to China? Well, he wouldn't have to if the U.S. had production and reserve levels of materials that he needed to build his electric vehicles, to do his SpaceX program and all that sorts of stuff. So you're left with, this interesting kind of political landscape that everyone's trying to navigate through that could be easily solved by, hey, we need to just ramp up production to levels we haven't seen in our lifetimes, but we're going to have to get shovels in the ground to start solving these problems.
Yes. And then, just on production from mines today, Australia is by far the leader. They're if you take second and third place, which is Chile and China, Australia is still slightly in the lead. So that gives you a sense.
40% of
the
lithium production.
About 40. So and I think if you add up the next two, it's about 40 or 41. So it's pretty close. So the U.S. isn't even in the conversation, but they can be. And usually what they talk about is hard rock or brine. And I'm just giving a very basic kind of talk. Hard rock is, of course, hard rock. It's there's a great slide actually in and we're going to get into this a little bit. There's an IPO today called Lithium Bank that we put money into. We're very excited about it. And it's not hard rock. And hard rock is what you think it is. You're digging a hole. It's crushing rock. When you look at more of the brine or the salars, and those are ones where you see a lot in like South America, where it's these pools, and they look very nice, and they're different pools, and they dry out the pools, and it's basically like salt off the ground. So that's another kind of way. Those are your conventional basic, and there's lots of hybrid and whatnot, but those are your basic. The next generation, though, and this is what's so unique with Lithium Bank, is this DLE brine. Which is this new technology, which is direct lithium extraction. And I'll just give a shout out right now, because we'll talk a little bit about this. There's a company called E3 Metals, which is also out of Calgary. And of course, there's Lithium Bank now for Alberta that have a huge impact and chance to reshape Alberta, Canada, with this type of technology. So these are, they're not even mining traditionally. This is a new extraction method, being able to go into these oil and gas wells that some of them are they're just old, they're defunct, they're not even doing anything with them, and be able to go in there and extract the brine from it. And I won't go into the details as to how that works, because I think we're hoping to have actually on Monday a special show with Lithium Bank. We're trying to set it up, and if we can, we'll let everyone know, where we'll have them on and they'll talk about the technology, how it works exactly. But it's revolutionary. It's very cool. E3 does it as well, but they have a little bit of a different change and twist on theirs. And that stock has done very well. And we love that because A, it's a Canadian company. Two, it gives Alberta a chance to, they're going to have an amazing energy year anyway, but it has this transition appeal that people go, oh, Alberta has a chance to really be a part of this in a very big way. And that next generation DLE brine, that could be a huge shift to put Canada on the map again.
And there's a massive push from the Alberta government as well, this whole kind of economic diversification of, yes, accepting, hey, we do have oil and gas and we can do this safer and cleaner than anyone else in the world, but we understand the fact that we're going to have to transition out into other forms of different metals and using Alberta's natural resources, but also diversifying our economy beyond just being the oil and gas hub of the world. So that there's huge incentive there for companies to be working in Alberta as well. And I'll just kind of put some numbers on this for people to understand. When we're talking about production and reserves, Canada right now is producing zero lithium. They're producing none, not even one lithium.
Not one lithium.
And even the United States is producing less than 2% of the global demand of lithium. And our reserves, I believe, if you add them up together, it's roughly 6% of the world's reserves are in Canada and the United States combined. So we're so far behind what a lot of these big players in this space are doing. We've got a lot of catch up to do, and that's why it's exciting to see opportunities that are giving us a chance to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we have to have a conversation about, isn't it nationalistic to want to have your own energy and be able to compete on I read that article and I shake my head and I think, what is this guy talking about? Anyway, I won't go back to that, because it's just amazing to think this is where we stand today with people writing articles, and this is a good article.
Yeah.
Not understanding anything other than I kind of understand lithium to some extent, and I know it's used in some way. And listen, I'll take it. Any kind of news story is great. But it's, it used to be in the day you wouldn't want to write about something you don't know about because you'd be ashamed about it. And now today people won't do that. I think we need to go back to that, because it should be that, listen, if you're not 100% sure and you're going to write an article about something, don't write it, because it just comes off very strange. But anyways, that's kind of my kind of bitching about it. But
Well, and you see the exact same thing happen with oil and gas, where the people have such a problem with, we have to shut down the oil sands, and we don't want to be producing any oil at home. But then we're totally okay buying millions and millions of barrels from Saudi Arabia, who I believe set a all-time record for beheadings last year. Like, they're no human rights heroes of the world.
Yeah.
So it's that exact same kind of naivety of, hey, wouldn't you rather us do this where we can do this in a responsible, safe way, and you can feel secure about that, rather than depending on someone else who's not adhering to the same standards? But yeah, there's my bitching on it too.
No, and that it's not even an argument. It's a sheer fact that we imported billions from Saudi Arabia in oil and gas whenever we have it, and it would have been cheaper. And you said, anybody in their right mind would have said, well, that's obvious. You do it. Take out the human rights violations and whatnot. You go, well, economically, why would you do that? Why would you pay the shipping and all that? Have it it makes no sense. But it makes sense if you are buying this propaganda of their whole green push. And, oh, no, we're not involved in that. Listen, everybody knows nowadays that if you do something in China, that affects the environment. Doesn't matter if it's not in your backyard. So this NIMBY kind of attitude towards, oh, well, I'm doing my part, is meaningless. You need to have the biggest offenders doing their part, which they're not interested in doing. So, that's this. There has to be a big wake up call sooner or later with these people. And I'm definitely picking on one group of people right now. I happen to live around a lot of them all the time, and it's very frustrating because they don't understand where energy comes from. And I'm pretty positive that our prime minister has not a clue. And I wouldn't expect him to. I mean, he was a part-time drama teacher. What would he know about energy? What would he know about history? What would he know about any of these things? So this is the predicament we've put ourselves into, where people are running the world that don't have a background in any of these things, and they're getting their information more than likely sitting at Davos, having Klaus tell them what's up. And even if that's the case, working in coordination with all these investment banks, they very well know that if we're going to make this shift, what that's going to take. So when are you going to realize the fact that we need to do this? We need to have lithium. We need to have a lot of incentives for people to be involved. And if you don't see that we're going to be using electric vehicles, like if you don't believe it, and you don't see, on top of it, say hydrogen, which we're going to use as well. There'll be a mix of all of these things. If you don't believe there's going to be this shift, then I say, okay, don't bother. But most people think there's this shift happening, and it comes from these things. So lithium has a lot of potential. There's so much. And I mean, the list of great companies and great projects, I mean, the obvious big names are, Lithium America. That's a huge one. That's the Thacker Pass one. There's American Lithium, which we're hopefully going to be talking to soon as well. That's a great project that has done very well in the last year and a half. Acme Lithium. We've did a video just a couple weeks ago, got huge amounts of views. They also just got funding by Lithium Royalties, which is a huge, serious group out there, which is a good aspect to look at. And also, this E3 Metals with this new technology, and of course, Lithium Bank, which we're very excited about, and which we're going to do a whole show on, hopefully on Monday. It just IPO today, came out of the gates real fast, went up to $2. I think it's about $1.90 or something right now. So just shot up there. And we love it because it's an Alberta play. It has a chance to, reimagine Alberta as in the new energy space. While it also has the potential today to save us from the problems that have been created. And, it's an exciting time. And, I've made the case before when I've done big presentations on, this being the Great Depression and Roaring '20s rolled into one. And I say that because I think a lot of people, if you look around, a lot of people aren't doing so hot. And unless you're focused on some of these solutions, and they generally come back then, it was if you're involved in gold and oil and gas or energy, you made out like a bandit. The Depression was not a bad time for you. It was incredible. And I suspect, gold is doing just fine the last couple of years. Most commodities are up massively. And any commodity that has anything to do with this big shift, lithium is the big obvious one. They always associate Tesla with that, with batteries. you're going to find yourself in a pretty good spot. And we're going to have a video out on lithium that's a much more detailed, and it has a lot more kind of facts and data and whatnot. But we want to just come on live stream and just get people prepped, in part because we have this IPO coming out that we're very excited about, in part because even the Canaccord thing, it's a decade. It's a long run we're going to have here, and you're not too late. We're still early, and when these things go, they go. And also, I'll say, fingers crossed. Hopefully, we'll get an analyst from Red Cloud as well on lithium and to come chat with us soon as well. We'll put the feelers out. But maybe wrap us up here, Austin.
Yeah, look, it's if for anyone who thinks, oh, I'm a little late to the party, the U.S. government's only getting in on it now, so you can't be that late.
No, you're super early.
The demand for if you just take electric vehicles, the demand for lithium is going to increase something like 17 times by 2030. And that's just for electric vehicles. We can talk, I'm sure we will in our lithium video, about other uses for lithium and what can happen with it. But no, it's an extremely exciting opportunity. We're really pumped up about the Lithium Bank IPO. There's going to be a lot of lithium coming out of us over the next little bit because of how important it is. The timing with the Defense Production Act has worked out kind of perfectly as well. But it's something that everyone should be paying a lot of attention to. Yeah,
and you don't have to worry about which car is going to be the cooler one, which one is be this. You just have to worry about, can we get that supply to them? Like having to determine who's got the bigger budgets to run ads, to be Rivian or to be Tesla. You don't have to worry about that. You just have to know that those car makers are growing, that Volkswagen is growing, and they have a demand that is incredible. They need to be fed. So let's feed them.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And hey guys, get on the message board. Lots of great content on the message board. Make sure you're signed up there. There's my last pitch of the day.
Excellent. I love it. Good stuff, everyone. Have a great weekend. Check out, we'll have that lithium video out very soon. And also we'll let our subscribers know, certainly first, when we're going to have that live stream with Lithium Bank. And let's see how it ends up the rest of the day. But what a start.
Yeah, great start. Take care, everybody.